Well, hello out there, everybody. It is I, DrBossKey. Dimitri, thank you for turning around the art and seeing the renders. Today, we're talking about the Sea Titan of Sreevus, which is Leantrix. So we've got a new version. This is our first render with lighting, so we're going to jump into it. I'm going to give some feedback. We're going to do two things today, I think. One is we're going to give general feedback on the outcomes from the rendering. And then the second thing is we're going to give a little bit of just animation guidance, because remember, we generally break our creatures down into old school frame by frame animations. So, and the boss monster will have 8 frames of animation. So, oh, and I also want to lastly talk about how we're going to destroy the boss monster. So this is a mid-level boss for level 1. So one of the very first moments we have the wow factor, folks. So you can see that we've been doing some jam sessions on this. For the folks following along, thank you very much. Feel free to leave any questions or comments in the section below. And yeah, so let's jump over to this. All right. We're getting there. We are getting there. I'm excited. So, Dimitri, one of the things that I really enjoyed, let's see here. Bloop, brushes. I enjoyed brushes. Oh, I was trying these new things. Let me get a new layer. New layer. Boop. Hello, new layer. I was just taking a look to see what I could do. All right. And I don't think I want it in pink. Let's see where our 255 greeny. Well, that's not green 255, is it? Can't help it. Bloop. Hit the enter key too much, too fast. Okay, so first off, just looking at this, drinking it in, I really like the way that the shaggy underwater kind of sea fur really came together, especially with the way these twinkle bits are. Like it's got this kind of bioluminescence. So I'm really looking forward to in the animation that the bioluminescence will kind of pulse in and out. It'll fade in and out, and it'll have different sections in the coat. And we'll have to figure out how to do it so it's not just popping everywhere. But yeah, so that was really good. We went from the concepts to this rendering. Mwah, amazing. I think what I'm looking at here, Dimitri, is that the highlights are just a little too white. They're really bright in terms of the light source. So I thought we could maybe pull down the highlights just a little bit, maybe by half or so, a little bit darker. I also noticed, I don't know, it didn't look this way when we did the I think the grayscale. Let me take a look here. And maybe it was just me. I think when I was looking at this jawline, because it was the blackness, it was the dark with the shades of gray and white and shadowing. It makes the jaw here feel really flat. It feels like I don't know if we need to do a whole lot about it, but it felt like really just flat and cut off after we definitely added the kind of the render to it. So I think the other thing is that the gore is just okay on the teeth. I'm glad it's there. It's not our best stuff. But it's also not super distracting. And I think maybe the other thing I'm kind of missing, if we're going to do one more, or do another turnaround, it would almost be neat to see some of like the shag, you know, like the sea shag fur, if we will, right? Maybe we could get maybe just a little bit of that. I don't know. I don't really run with it, but I don't know, maybe it'll be fine because we're going to animate the jaws anyway. So what else did I have? I think the other thing is I can't really put a finger on it, but the horns here really turned out a lot flatter than I expected them to in terms of shading. Maybe maybe it could be that we need darker. Maybe if we just bring down, and that's why I was playing with like the levels, but maybe we can bring down with some of the white levels. It'll make the darks pop more. Maybe we need a little bit more deeper depth to the blacks. They feel kind of fake and plasticky a little bit. But otherwise, I really like the way the eyes turned out. I feel like. And maybe we can get this with animation, but it feels like all the eyeballs are all pointing kind of in the same place. And I made a tiny bit of variation to make them feel like they're kind of almost all looking at slightly different places. I think it's fine when you have like kind of the big eyeballs here, of course. But then, yeah, it's a small thing. So, other than that, I enjoyed how the darkness of the chest scales came out. And I think those are the main things. So, you know, like Dimitri, you think on it. I think the things I care about the most are overall how bright the whites are in this case. And I think maybe the horns, you know, the fur, the shaggy sea fur is fantastic. The gore on the teeth is just okay. I think part of it is maybe it's a little bit light, and that might be the thing, is that overall everything is just a tiny bit too bright. Because we're also going to light this, and I think those lights are going to get in the engine. Those lights are going to get picked up a lot more. So everything I tried to explore with like levels, I didn't really enjoy. I was just trying to get that kind of look. I think it really comes down to like the highlights there. Okay, so with that, although I think we're super close, so I think we can probably get through it this week, knock on wood. So now, two things. So animation wise, we should have the eyeballs with the I think with the outer world, you know, pupils, irises. If these move around a little bit on a per eye basis, maybe we can get a sense for it. It's always looking kind of everywhere, and I think that'll be kind of alien and freaky. I think the other big piece of real estate here is basically seeing the jaws close, right, all together. So it'll have like this kind of like not only a normal clamp from the top to the bottom, but it'll also clamp from the left and right. So I'm very excited to see what the versions of that look like. I think we should work on getting a nice wiggle for for the fin itself. Same thing with the I think the outer fins here. They don't need to move a lot, just a little bit of a little motion I think will be good. We already talked about I think the bioluminescence kind of having like different fade in and fade out points in the fur. So getting that in its own layer also would be super helpful. But we got to make sure, because we only have 8 frames, so it really can't be too crazy in terms of popping. I don't want it to be like a disco strobe. I just want it to show that it feels like it's a living organism inside the fur itself. Same thing, the jaws are going to be tough, I think, to do that. And then maybe the last piece here is that I really like these whiskers. These whiskers are amazing. So I think we can probably add a little bit of motion to them as well. Other than that, those are the main bits of feedback. So here's the other thing that I want to do to set this up in the engine. And maybe the best way to show this is, do I have a version of the engine up yet? Take a look. Oh, SHMUP Creator, I love you. Come on, a little faster. All right. This is a prototype level I haven't released yet, but we're making progress. All right, so. And this is probably the fastest way to explain how I want to try to do basically. So the concept is that as you're shooting, because this is the guy that's going to get replaced, right? So basically, as you're shooting him, as his life bar starts to deplete, I want to have parts of his body basically blowing off and showing evisceration, right? So like, and we'll get into that a little bit more deeper. But to give you an example, what's this guy? It's this guy, Fishman. All right, so this guy has 15,000 hit points. So, and he's a bigger boss. It's multi-stage. You've seen it. You've played it. I got a new version coming for you soon. And so, yeah. So if you're shooting this guy, basically, what I can envision happening, right, is that like parts of his eyeballs blow out, right, and we got that face, like the face bits, and it doesn't have to be all completely one stage. We don't have to go too crazy, right? But basically, as you're depleting his life, parts of his body start to chunk off, and then you get that evisceration. So we definitely need to pop some eyeballs and get some chunky flesh going on here, right? We also want to rip a horn. Boom, that horn just comes right off, which means we also need a version that has the horn behind it. And then another separate horn can also rip off that point, maybe this one too. I think probably his ear goes. Maybe, and then here I think like we could probably rip out the problem is that if you get the animations, how would we do that? So the things we're going to touch animation wise are going to be, I'm starting to think about how we're going to do this. So but yeah, we could probably rip the jaw out as well. So at the very base level we have the normal guy, right? And then we have the ability to layer images on top. So it's almost like I can't cut holes in him, and I don't want to do major swaps. So, yeah, it might turn out that we might not animate some bits. So we'll want to see, let's see I think the jaws need to animate for sure. But for instance, like even if we don't do the jaws themselves, I bet you we can like rip this horn here. We can definitely do like missing the eye blinks are totally fine because it doesn't take up that much animation. And then like I said, that like the horn rips will be fine here. Maybe and then like I think the fin, maybe like the back flesh, we can like definitely like crack into the back here and like have that part rip off. That would be sweet. It'd be like boosh, right? Okay, so here's how I think we can do this. So kind of stepping back over. So we have here as our placeholder guy, right? So basically, what it is that we have essentially the texture, which I basically treat like an enemy. In this case, it'll just be an attached. It won't have to take damage itself. We'll just do it based on amount of life, right? So, but I think the main trick here, right, is that this texture just sorts on top of the boss monster to show that it's full, right? And then what we'll do is underneath at the very base layer, the animated one, we'll have basically the gory version of him. So all these pieces move around together because they're attached, because we have the ability to do that. And then we'll basically remove that texture, and underneath will be like the boss with all the gore parts, right? So as and maybe it's like 500 hit points, maybe it's 1,000 hit points at a time, then a chunk of this thing just flies off until we get down to pretty much the end before he explodes, right? So that means that we need to construct him with I think those kind of pieces in mind, right? So, okay, I think that's it. I'm really looking forward to the next iteration. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Thank you everyone out there that's been watching and following along and subscribing and mashing those buttons that make the YouTube algorithms do their things. Much appreciated. Talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye.